Alright, here are some notes on the biotic and abiotic components of ecosystems. This is stuff that you've learned in general biology as well, so hopefully it's a bit of a review. Abiotic factors are the non-living parts of an environment, and they include things such as air, soil, temperature, sunlight, and rocks. Abiotic factors include the physical and chemical features of an environment. If bio means life, then abio means not alive. And abiotic factors also are those that were never alive. Now, soil can be a bit of a tricky one because soil has a lot of bacteria in it, which is alive. So when we call soil abiotic, we're referring to the minerals, the dirt, the stuff that's not actual bacteria. So abiotic factors can include both physical and chemical factors. Physical features include humidity, wind, temperature, light, water, altitude. These are all factors or characteristics of an ecosystem that are not alive. Chemical factors can include pH, how acidic or basic it is, dissolved oxygen concentrations, nutrients, salinity. None of these things are alive either. Biotic factors, on the other hand, are all the living and once living things in an environment. And biotic factors can also include substances that come off of living things. So fur, for example, if you find a tuft of fur, it's not alive, but it came from a living thing and therefore is biotic. Obviously, all animals and plants and all the other organisms in the kingdoms of life are biotic. Dead organisms are considered biotic because they once were alive. The living part of soil, the bacteria, is considered biotic. Fecal matter came from a living thing, and it has a lot of bacteria in it that are also living. So again, just to reiterate, soil is composed of both biotic, living and once living things, like the plants, bacteria, and feces, and abiotic materials, the non-living factors, like minerals, water, and rocks. Different organisms get nutrition in different ways, and this is where we get into the trophs. So troph means where do you feed? How do you feed yourself? And you can split pretty much all of life into either autotrophs or heterotrophs. We've already talked a little bit about autotrophs. They're also known as producers. We call them autotrophs because they make their own food. Troph, where you get food. Auto, from yourself. So they convert energy in their surroundings to make their own chemical energy in the form of glucose. So plants use electromagnetic energy from the sun to make chemical energy, glucose, in photosynthesis. Most organisms that are autotrophs use the sun as their source of energy, but there are a few examples of organisms that don't use the sun. Like there are some bacteria in deep sea underwater vents that use inorganic chemicals like sulfur as a source of energy, and we call that chemosynthesis instead of photosynthesis because they're using a chemical, sulfur, instead of sunlight, which is what photo refers to. Living organisms can be heterotrophs, and hetero means other, so heterotroph would mean that you get your source of food from somewhere other than yourself. They're also known as consumers because they usually consume, meaning that they usually have a mouth and an anus, but not always. Some examples include humans, insects, bacteria, fungi, animals. Some key terms for consumers include ingest. Ingestion means to take food into the body by swallowing. Digest, which is the process of breaking down food by mechanical and enzymatic action into substances that can be used by the body. Absorption, which is where those simple nutrient molecules that have been broken down from digestion are absorbed and moved into cells. And egestion, which is the process of discharging undigested food as feces. Heterotrophs include consumers, which are consumers that they're animals that feed on living organisms by ingesting. So mosquitoes, bats, lions, raccoons, parameciums, all are heterotrophs. Heterotrophs can also include what are called detritivores. Detritivores feed on detritus, which is organic waste, such as dead leaves, dead animals, and feces. And so detritivores are really helpful in ecosystems because they help break down the dead organic material. And they can include earthworms, dung beetles, millipedes, bacteria. And then there's the saprotrophs, which are heterotrophs, but they're not consumers in the sense that they don't ingest their food. Instead, they digest their food externally and then absorb it. So they're excreting digestive enzymes on the matter around them. And then as those enzymes work and break down the organic matter around the fungus, it can then absorb it into its body. And so examples include fungi and a few bacteria. So different organisms get nutrition in different ways. That's basically it for the abiotic and biotic factors.